John likes tech and lives in Indiana, you know. Kevin likes the Dodgers and talks on the radio. John plays games on Xbox and on his Nintendo, while Kevin runs around LA with his mustachio. It's the Lack of Genius podcast, in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast. John, great to see you.
You too.
Great to hear you.
Likewise.
I would say great to smell you, but we are in different parts of the country, so I cannot smell you right now, but I'm sure you smell wonderful.
I probably don't.
All that lawn mowing that we were talking about in the pre-show.
Yeah. The lawn mowing, and then went on another walk today, so.
Awesome, man. Good for you getting your exercise in. That's great. Well, welcome to the Lack of Genius podcast. As we just said, my name is Kevin, and that's John. And well, I'll say what we're doing this episode. We are doing, correct me if I'm mistaken, but children's singers and songwriters from our childhood. Mm-hmm. Is that accurate, John?
Yeah, I think so.
And here's what we do. We kind of get together, John and I, and we map out the weeks ahead of what our episodes are going to be, and we book guests, and we put it on. And we have the next few episodes booked, but we realize, like, oh, wait a minute, what are we doing next week? We didn't have anything on the calendar, and so we just sort of last minute, I forget how it even came up, but I was just thinking about, my own kind of aspirations of being a child singer and a child singer, a singer of children's songs and children entertainer, and thought about what I liked growing up, and I threw out the name Raffi to John.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, Raffi is I'll just take the Raffi portion really quick. He's was once called one of the most popular children's singers in the English-speaking world. This guy was huge in the children's world. I have very specific memories of listening to cassette tapes of him in our 1989 Ford Aerostar van, silver van that we took from Southern California up to Utah and Zion National Park and all these places. And yeah, my parents, Raffi probably saved their lives because he kept us entertained and we would sing along to all the songs. Probably his most famous song is one called Baby Beluga. He also did Banana Phone, Down by the Bay. Are you familiar with Raffi, John? I forget if I asked you. Okay, so you grew up on Raffi too.
Yep.
So I get to hog the Raffi. Now you know who I'm doing. I literally hadn't even heard of who you're doing. Why don't you drop the name in and tell us about them?
Sharon, Lois, and Bram.
Yeah, those are all names.
You probably recognize the song Skidamarink.
I do. Is that an original song by them, as far as you know?
As far as I know.
Wow. Yes, skidamarinky dinky dink, skidamarinky doo.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow, that is them.
That's them.
And then, do you specifically remember listening to them growing up?
Oh yeah, yeah. And then they also had a show or two, and so.
Yeah, I wonder how I missed that. I mean, I think I was born in the 80s, growing up in the 80s and early 90s. Things aren't as accessible, so you have to know about things, and your parents have to go out and get them.
Yeah, I mean, it may have just been a market thing. I don't know. But
I will tell you, John, I deliberately didn't even Google their name. I didn't even look at pictures of them. I am coming in with a blank slate, so we'll see how this goes. But what I will say is I don't know that I made an easy Raffi quiz either, because there was a lot of things I didn't know about Raffi, and I put them in the quiz. So I think maybe we're on somewhat even playing ground.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll find out. Let's, I think we can tidy up and then we can get into our quiz, yeah?
Yep, sounds good.
Tidy up before we go any further with the show. Tidy up before we go. Fix our mistakes tonight. I wanna get it right. Tidy up. That's the kind of amazing children's music I'll be making for your children to become. So I'll dethrone Raffi as the most popular children's singer in the English-speaking world. Just you wait. Okay, so I got a couple tidy ups. I'll start with just a thank you to our guest last week, David Radcliffe, who was amazing, not just for Earth Day, but every day. I mean, I'm biased because A, I know him well, and B, this is my podcast. This is a podcast we do together. But I just thought what he had to say was so poignant and so thought-provoking and really helpful and really encouraging to kind of be like, here's what I can do to do my part. So big thank you to him. And part of the reason I bring him up is because he sent me an email right after the show. He couldn't remember the name of a book by David Wallace Wells about climate change. He was struggling to come up with that on the spot. It is called The Uninhabitable Earth. So David's 2 book suggestions were The Uninhabitable Earth by David Wallace Wells, and the other one was The Day the World Stopped Shopping by J.B. McKinnon, in case you were like, oh yeah, I did want to buy those books. Thanks for reminding me, Kevin. You're welcome. So my second tidy up then is what came from my sister Erica. If you recall a couple episodes ago on the Easter episode, I confessed to killing a duck on accident, right? My family's ducky. I accidentally stepped on both of its feet 2 separate times from each other. So my sister texts me, and she here's what she says. She says that our mom and dad never told us as kids that I stepped on the foot twice. So they protected me and didn't tell my sister and brother that I was the one who killed the duck. They didn't find that out till adulthood, and that's when it became an on-running joke, which I totally forgot about, and she's absolutely right. Her recollection of it was that the first time I did it, it was because we had a tire swing in the backyard, and I was pulling the tire swing back and wasn't watching where I was going, stepped on the duck. And then my recollection, which was probably the second time, was when my dog jumped on me and I stepped back and stepped on it. What she says is that she remembers that Ducky came home with a brace and that she was told that he broke his second leg somehow and died. But they did not let me or our brother Robert know that it was me who broke his leg the second time. So my parents tried to protect me as any good parent would do, but the verdict has, the judge has ruled and the verdict is in, and Kevin is guilty of accidentally killing this duck, I must admit.
Now, if Stella or Coconut end up with a broken leg,
then we have a pattern, right?
Right? Then it's no longer accidental.
It's time to take a quiz or two, like a genius podcast doing this for you. You may fail, but it ain't no lie, baby, it's quiz time. Don't really want this quiz to be tough, I just want to pass one cause I failed enough. It might sound crazy, but it ain't no lie, baby, it's quiz time.
All right, John, we're tapping into our inner childhood today, yes?
We are.
Do you feel like, I mean, because we're both music fans now, do you remember being really moved by music as a kid, or maybe just as much as anyone? Do you have any significant memories? Just kind of curious.
I think just the normal amount. Nothing stands out, but
yeah.
I mean, I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think as a kid, what's so nice is, yeah, and you being a father, you can probably attest to this, but kids love music, man. They connect to music, and that's why so many educational tools are surrounded around music. And I think that's one of the things, without trying to get too deep right off the bat, that I'm excited about doing for this episode is that music plays such an integral role of our development as human beings. And even though we all develop our own tastes down the line and any of the various genres, it all started with the stuff that we all heard and the little songs we learned growing up. So it'll be nice to highlight a few of those. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna get things started here with our Raffi quiz. You ready for number 1?
I am.
All right, let's find out a lot about Raffi's history. What country was Raffi born in? R-A-F-F-I, Raffi. What country was he born in? Was it A, Canada, B, Armenia, C, Egypt, or D, Madagascar?
Well, I knew he wasn't American.
If you don't know Raffi, he's got a beard. As a child, I knew him as having a brown beard and brown hair. Now he's got a white beard and white hair.
Right. You know who always reminded me of him?
Who?
The guy from Ernest Saves Christmas that becomes Santa.
Oh my gosh, yes. I love that you can drop an Ernest reference on me and I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, he sure did. Yep, I know exactly who you're talking about.
I'm just going to go with Egypt.
All right, you shot in the dark choosing Egypt?
Yeah.
John, great shot in the dark. You got it right. So the thing is, except Madagascar, all 3 of these countries, Canada, Armenia, and Egypt, have something to do with this person and his upbringing. So Raffi was born in Cairo, Egypt, but it was 2 Armenian parents who fled Turkey during the Armenian genocide. So they are of Armenian descent, fled to Egypt, and then at some point in 1958, at some point when when Raffi was very young, moved to Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The name Raffi, by the way, Raffi Kavukian. Kavukian would have given away at least the Armenian part, but Raffi came from an Armenian artist. Armenian author who his mother really liked, and was a leading figure in the 19th century Armenian literature. Makab Malik Hakobian is this author's name, but his pen name was Raffi. And so that is where we got the name Raffi for our childhood ultimately. So there you go. But yeah, technically he's Egyptian as well as Armenian and probably has a Canadian residency. So a multicultural person Raffi is. So there you go. Nice job, John. 1 for 1. So
I got true or false for you.
Yes, thank you.
The members of Sharon, Lois, and Bram are Canadian.
True or false? True or false? So see now this, I don't think I looked anything up and I don't think you told me this, but I do think they are known as being from Canada. Now, does that make them Canadian necessarily? I like they could have moved to Canada, but I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to say true. I'm going to say that yes, Sharon, Lois, and Bram, these members are Canadian. Oh man, I should have overthought it.
2 out of the 3 are.
Oh gosh. Oh well, you didn't say that. You didn't say all 3 members. You just said the members. That's 2.
Yeah, meaning all.
You got to specify that next time, John. I'm going to take this one. If we tie, if I lose or we tie, I'm gonna come back to this.
Sharon and Bram are both from Canada, and Lois is actually from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And they started in Toronto as well.
No way.
So your odds of being a big child singer for children, not looking good since you're not living in Toronto.
Yeah, or Canada in general. Because it's funny because actually Raffi, this must be the Canadian version of it. He in fact hitchhiked from Toronto to Vancouver in order to make it big as a musician, and that's when that's where he did most of his recording. But yeah, Canada is apparently where it's at. All right, so 2/3 are Canadian, 1 is a Chicagoan, and I missed it. So you're 1 for 1, I'm 0 for 1, and number 2 on Raffi here. I already mentioned that Baby Beluga is Raffi's biggest song, pretty much without contest. So the song Baby Beluga was inspired by a real beluga named Kavna, whom Raffi met at the Vancouver Aquarium because he went to Vancouver to get famous. In 2006, how was this beluga honored? Was she A, put on Canadian postage stamps, B, put on a special edition of the Canadian Quarter, C, had a statue built at the Vancouver Aquarium, or D, she was fed 40 pounds of cheeseburgers?
I'm thinking either the postage stamp or the statue.
Mm-hmm. We got postage stamp, we got Canadian Quarter, we got statue at the aquarium, or the 40 pounds of cheeseburger.
I'm going to go with the postage stamp.
She was put on Canadian postage stamps. You locking it in, John? I
am.
2 for 2, my friend. You're killing it. Keep it going. See, you're just going to put it completely out of reach so I don't have to complain about that first question. Yeah, Kavna was the most famous of the beluga whales at the aquarium, largely due to this song. Visitors would come all the time to see this beluga. 30 million people, it's estimated, came to see Kavna throughout her long life. In fact, she passed away. It's been 10 years now. 2012, she passed away. She was 46 years old. The average beluga lifespan is 25 to 30 years. So she lived a very long life. The entire thing was in captivity. And so I know there's probably some mixed feelings about that, but she did have a long life. She was adored by many, and she was obviously the inspiration for a song that generations know and love. Yeah. Raffi, that is, got a chance to actually meet Kavna up close and personal. This was in 1979, got like a kind of like go with a trainer and see it. And what he said is, quote, "She had a profound impact on me when I met her. Kavna even came out of the water and placed a gentle, graceful kiss on my cheek, and I couldn't stop talking about it for a couple weeks." So clearly it really moved Raffi, and he ended up writing the song, and it became a big hit. And I'm sure he's very grateful to this beluga and would have fed her 40 pounds of cheeseburger if he had the chance and if that was healthy.
Maybe.
Maybe. So there you go, John. Man, nicely done. 2 for 2. And I'm just trying to keep pace. Let's see if I can go 1 for 2.
What year did their first album come out?
Okay.
1978, 1984, 1990, or 1993?
Very nice. Very nice. Wow. 78, 84, 90, or 93. So Raffi, who it sounds like these two, their careers kind of mirrored each other. Raffi, I just mentioned 79 is when he was inspired to write Baby Beluga. I actually don't know when his first album came out, but he was huge in the especially the 80s and 90s Was this the same for Sharon, Lois, and Bram? I really want to choose the earliest one. And I don't know why exactly. I think for some reason when I hear the name, it just 70s pop to mind. And so for that reason, I'm just going to choose 1978. Oh, yeah.
Yep. 1978 is when their first album came out. Like I said, they started in Toronto. That's where they recorded and everything. Their first album was called One Elephant, Deux Elephants. You know,
I love that.
They are in, Toronto, Ontario. So
yes, yes.
Gotta get the French in there.
That's great. So, it's funny because Skidamurky Dinky Dink, you said, is probably what they're most known for. Hopefully I'm not spoiling any questions.
Yeah. That's probably one of their biggest. Part
of the reason I ask is, as far as it was an original song. And as I'm looking through Raffi's greatest hits, as I was going through a lot of these, songs like Down by the Bay, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a Raffi song.
Right.
And turns out it's actually not. It's a popular cultural song, but he, at least for me and my siblings, like we know it from Raffi. In fact, I can see the watermelon so clearly every time he sings, where the watermelon grows. Skidamurky Dinky Dink, that's genius. And it's funny too, because both those songs, Skidamurky Dinky Dink and what was I just talking about? Down by the Bay. Both of those are also like campfire songs that I sang growing up.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm a camp director. Gosh dang it. I'm going to start singing Baby Beluga at campfires. We're going to do it. We're going to make this big. Oh, Coco Melon. Do you know Coco Melon by chance?
I've heard of it.
Coco Melon, your little Charlie is going to be all about Coco Melon in maybe in a few months to a year.
I mean, it's very possible that Coco Melon will be out of favor in something else.
You're right. Oh, you mean me? You're talking about me?
No, not you. You don't live in Toronto.
You're right. I got to move to Toronto first. Coco Melon did a Skidamurky Dinky Dink. And if you don't know the Coco Melon, man, every toddler, every child under the age of 2 is obsessed. So there you go. All right. Maybe we'll do a Coco Melon episode next. So luckily I got that one to keep close. I'm 1 for 2. You're 2 for 2. Let's see if you can go 3 for 3. What is the name that Raffi has given to adults who grew up listening to him? So this is like in current times. What does Raffi call adults who grew up listening to him? Are they A, Raffi radicals, B, Beluga grads, C, Raffi's kids, or D, Beluga believers?
Out of curiosity, does Raffi have any kids of his own?
I do not know, actually. I clearly didn't do a deep enough dive. You're thinking if he had kids of his own, he probably wouldn't call them Raffi kids,
right.
Raffi's kids. I will look quickly. No, actually, as far as I know, he doesn't have kids. I didn't come across that anywhere. Don't quote me on that, but I did not come across that in anything in my research.
I'm also kind of thinking on Beluga grads. I think I'm just going to go with Beluga grads.
Beluga grads? You just feeling that one or what?
I am. Yep.
Oh, okay, John, you are 3 for 3, John. You are just on fire, baby. Man, you're just nothing but netting them. Yeah, Beluga grads, which I love that. And John, you and I are Beluga grads. Like when I was first researching this, I was like, oh, that's so cool that people get to be Beluga grads. And I was like, wait a minute. It's anyone who grew up listening to Raffi. I'm a Beluga grad. So when he talks about the song Baby Beluga, there's a quote from Raffi where he says, it took my career to a whole new level. And recently, in recent years, in concert, I've heard a whole new generation who I call Beluga grads. So he hears adults singing along to his songs. These are adults who bring their kids to his concerts now, and they all sing together. My strongest recommendation of today, if you get nothing else from my Raffi information, if you grew up on Raffi, do yourself a favor and look up the duet he did in 2020 with Yo-Yo Ma. Okay, Yo-Yo Ma is the famous cellist. He did a duet during the pandemic in 2020. This was the 40th anniversary of the song Baby Beluga.
I think I saw that.
Did you see it? Yeah, it probably...
I think so.
There's a good chance it maybe went viral or semi-viral during the pandemic because it was sort of when people were discovering, oh, we can make music by I'm here and you're there and we just record our sound together. Yo-Yo Ma does an excellent cello on it and like imitates Beluga sounds on it. It's just amazing watching him work. But B, Raffi adds in a special verse literally just for the Beluga grads, literally just for adults who grew up listening to him. And it really touched me when I heard it. And I just highly suggest anyone who grew up on Raffi, go watch that video and see if it touches your heart in the same way. All right.
Okay.
Beluga grads. Let's see, John, man, you're putting the pressure on me. We got number 3 for Sharon, Lois, and Bram.
So how many different shows did they have? So they didn't just do tapes at the time, or CDs now, or MP3s, but they actually did shows. So did they do 1, 2, 3, or 4 shows?
Now, John, I've learned...
Like TV shows.
Thank you. I was going to make a joke that I learned my lesson from the first question. Are these just TV shows? Are they radio shows? Now I have to ask clarification if it doesn't include the words. Man, that's a great question. As far as I know, Raffi, I'm sure he made many TV appearances, but I don't believe he had a show. So this is very cool. How many different shows did they have? Part of me is like, is this a trick question? Or is it only one? But, and it may be, but I have a feeling since you put this question in, that they probably had multiple shows. Man, 4 would be a lot. I'm going to say 2. I'm going to say they had an original one and then they did a second one for some reason a few years later. So I'm just going to say 2. Yeah. Was I kind of right on my reasoning?
Yeah, they did one in the 80s that aired on the CBC, which is the Canadian broadcast channels. But that aired in the US on Nickelodeon.
Cool.
Through 96. And then in the late 90s, they did another show that started on CBC and then in the US was on the Learning Channel.
Okay, gotcha.
Back when the Learning Channel was ran by PBS and actually you could learn stuff from it.
Wait, is PBS not learnable anymore?
No, it's TLC. The Learning Channel isn't ran by PBS anymore.
Oh, Learning. I see. PBS is still obviously very good, but
right.
Yeah, I understand. So I'll be honest. I just for the first time actually Googled them, and I'm not going to look into anything deep. I promise for the last, so I don't spoil anything. I just wanted to get an image. Here are a few thoughts coming to mind. If you don't know who Sharon, Lois, and Bram are, you should Google them also. But the guy, what is the guy? Is that Bram?
Yeah.
The male. He looks like Raffi. He looks like Raffi.
Yeah.
They're dudes with beards. It's similar enough. There's also, well, I'll save this point for later, but they're pictured with a bunch of elephants. I wanted to Google them because when you mentioned Nickelodeon in the US, I mean, I grew up on Nickelodeon. I watched a ton of Nickelodeon, so I wanted to see if they looked familiar. The imagery kind of rings a bell, but they must not have been a super part of my childhood. I just saw them from time to time on Nick when I was very young. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, very good, very good. Well, man, John, I expected you to just slosh me on this, but I'm keeping the pressure on. Unfortunately, I've given you a true or false question for the next one, so I'm not helping myself out. True or false, Raffi turned down an opportunity to play at Madison Square Garden in New York. Is that true or is that false?
I'm going to say true.
You ready to lock it in?
I am.
John, you're 4 for 4. Nicely done. Yeah, man, I thought about, should I make this a trick question and say he turned down some other place? But I really just wanted to share this fact. He turned down a very lucrative offer to perform at Madison Square Garden, which is, one of the biggest, one of the hugest venues in the world, really. One of the most prestigious, if you get a chance to play Madison Square Garden. In his autobiography, he said that it was because he just preferred to play in small, intimate settings, and he felt that Madison Square Garden was too large for him to connect with children. So that's part of why I wanted to include that question is he was doing it for the right reasons. He could have just taken the paycheck and done whatever, but he truly, if he was doing his art, which was making music, he wanted it to have the purpose of connecting with kids. In fact, I'll do a quick plug of a podcast that I really enjoy listening to, even though, John, I think we have a rule where we don't plug other podcasts, but I'm breaking, it's a rule I set and I break all the time. It's called Creative Pep Talk, and the host is a dude named Andy J. Pizza, and he just did an episode talking about how for creative types, you have to have a balance between not just trying to be unique and trying to put something out that's original, but also something that serves a purpose, something that has function to it. That is to him, that is the definition of what art is. So it's your most creative and original idea, but it also serves a purpose. And I think the reason this comes to mind is I think Raffi this really exemplifies that he felt his music had a purpose, and that was sharing it with kids, and in a live sense, sharing it in a way that connects with them, not for him to be on a big stage where kids are way far away and totally unplugged from the whole thing. So, that's my takeaway from it. And yeah, gosh dang it, Raffi, thank you for being you. All right, so you're keeping it going, man. 4 for 4. Yep. I'm gonna put the pressure on you and say you have a chance to go perfect, but we gotta go to my number 4 question first.
What animal is their main puppet?
Oh, I spoiled this one, didn't I? Okay, this makes number 1 even. What are my choices?
Horse, dog, giraffe, or elephant?
It's elephant, isn't it?
It is.
Give me those dings. Oh, man. That's so funny because I literally thought about it as I was Googling it. I was like, what am I really going to see in a picture of them that's going to spoil something? I already know there's 3 of them. Oh, man. All right.
And I specifically didn't tell you the name of their first show, which is The Elephant Show. Their
first show was literally called The Elephant Show. So it was about this main elephant puppet.
Yeah.
But you did say their first album. What was it? Didn't that have the word elephant in it? Did I make that up?
One elephant, the elephant.
All right. So I'd like to think that I would have chosen elephant regardless, but we can't reverse time and choose it. So mine was more egregious. I'm going to admit to that. But I think at the very least, we've evened out the playing field with that. Sure. So let's see what happens. We'll discuss it if it comes down to it. But I just went 3 for 4 by cheating. You are 4 for 4 mostly actually you're 4 for 4 entirely by through honest ways. So there's no knocking your 4 on 4. It's whether I'm actually 4 for 4 or 3 for 4. But I'm not going to fight it too much. All right, number 5. Let's see if we can get our first 5 for 5 performance in quite a while. I think maybe I had the last one. I don't remember what it was for, but John, I'll be honest, I'm rooting for you, man. What subject does Raffi tackle in his 2013 non-children's book? So he had sing-along books, he had children's books, things like that. He wrote a non-children's book in 2013. Which subject did it tackle? Global warming, social media reform, endangered species protection, or concertinas?
I doubt it was about concertinas. However, that would be quite funny if it was.
But that's what I was going to say, is that what I did see in the Sharon, Lois, and Bram thing there's a picture of Bram playing a concertina. It's like a fake one. It's a cutout one. Maybe he played a real one, but yes, that was what the thought I was going to share. So you're thinking it's not concertina here. What are you thinking?
Yes, social media was around in 2013, but it wasn't the huge thing it is now, both from people using it and the issues it can cause. So that kind of leaves global warming and endangered species protection. The fact that he has, the affinity with the Beluga, Kavna, and everything, I'm going to go with endangered species protection.
Endangered species protection. You want to lock it in, John? You're going 5 for 5. You don't want to second guess it?
Yep, going for it.
Endangered species protection is incorrect. I'm so sorry. This was a tricky, and I knew this one would be the hardest question regardless, because your logic was absolutely right, except that it was social media reform, and it was ahead of its time, which is part of why I wanted to include this question. Okay. And to be fair, I kind of threw in tough. Endangered species would be the one that I probably would have picked as well. But yeah, in 2013, he published a book. It was called Light Web, Dark Web: 3 Reasons to Reform Social Media Before It Reforms Us. And, it examines both the benefits and the dangers present on the internet and in social media. And again, this is 9 years ago. When it was, I feel like it was really just starting. It was really, the spark light behind it was an unfortunate death by suicide of a young teenager named Amanda Todd. She lived in Vancouver, which is what ultimately became Raffi's hometown. And it really affected him. She was, the story was that she ended up dying by suicide as a result of online bullying. And I did, even as I was researching that, I do kind of remember that was sort of when it was starting to come up more often, that subject. But it even took him as far as to partner with he has a nonprofit called Raffi Foundation for Child Honoring. And along with some other nonprofits, he co-founded what was called the Red Hood Project, which was a movement for consumer protection for children online that launched in 2012 and then was followed by the book. So yeah, I think that's amazing because right now I'm like, oh my gosh, we need social media reform. He was talking about it 9 years ago. Right. Raffi does champion other causes, including global warming. In 2007, he wrote and recorded a song called Cool It about global warming, and it was a call to action on global warming. He also supported Bernie Sanders in 2016 and wrote a song called Wave of Democracy. So he uses his voice and his music for other reasons other than just entertaining children. And I applaud that for sure. I'm sorry, John, that you didn't go perfect. And now that makes it to where let's see what happened. Let's see if I get the last one right. Because I'm 3 for 4 right now. You're 4 for 5. Let's see if we have controversy or not.
What award have they earned?
Ooh.
The Nobel Prize, the Grammy, an Emmy, or an Order of Canada?
Order of Canada. Oh man, I assume that's a very real award, and there's not an all of the above. Ooh, man, this is a good question, John, because, if we're going big, like a Nobel Prize, I mean, they could have won a Nobel Prize for, I don't know what the various things they give out, but I know like artists and literature and whatnot, they receive Nobel Prizes. I would love to think that they earned a Grammy. They as far as I know, for quite a while, they've been giving out Grammys for children's songs, but maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know. Emmy, because they've had a TV show too. They could have won. They're Canadian, John. They could have won any of these. See, I am going to give my best guess. I really am. The part of me wants to miss it just so that we don't have controversy. But this is what I actually want to choose. I think it's a little bit going out on a limb, but I'm going to say, gosh dang it, I'm going to say they won a Nobel Prize. I'm doing it. Okay, all right. That was too far-fetched.
They have earned honors as being a part of the Order of Canada.
Order of Canada. Wow, no Grammys or Emmys, though. Too bad.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
And my guess is Raffi also has been a part of the Order of Canada.
I would guess so, too. Yeah.
Yeah. You can kind of think of it like the Canadian version of being knighted in a way. Like the Queen is the head of the Order of Canada. You just have to be Canadian to be inducted into it. It was started in 1967, and to date, or I guess this is as of 2 years ago, there's been 7,200 people inducted.
That's cool. Justin Bieber got his yet or no?
I have no idea. But I mean, it allows you to, I guess, have a herald, like a coat of arms type thing officially. There's a council that puts names forward. So, yeah.
I do wonder if Raffi has it. I wonder if you have to be born in Canada. I would assume that Raffi has Canadian citizenship.
True.
But he may not have this award because he wasn't born in Canada.
Right. So Sharon and Bram both are official, where Lois is an honorary member.
Interesting. So Lois maybe never became a citizen, because I am looking, and Raffi is part of the Order of Canada as of 1983. So he probably is a citizen. He's also Order of British Columbia, which is specific to just the BC area, obviously. And this one I was excited about. He won the Fred Rogers Integrity Award. This was given by the Campaign for a Commercial-Free Childhood. And anything with Fred Rogers' name on it is a pretty big honor. I'm sure Raffi enjoyed winning that one. And he's considered Canada's all-time children's champion. I love that title. That's not even a title, but I like that a lot. Well, I'm glad that I missed that. I went 3 for 4. You went 4 for 5, despite any controversy or lack thereof. Here's what I'm going to put out. They say they should put your dreams out there. You should put your visions out there. I've always been one that was bad at setting goals, but this podcast has been a great platform for me to talk about my children's project, not so much in a marketing way. I mean, clearly that, like, if when and if this thing launches, I'm going to talk about it more here, but
Right.
more I'm talking about it, so that helps motivate me to put it out more. My goal is to get a Raffi collaboration when Gouda Wooda becomes big enough that I can reach Raffi. And maybe I don't even have to get big enough. Maybe I just have to have some stuff out there and he just has to see that my heart's in it. And that I'm gonna channel Raffi, and I'm gonna do it for the kids, and I'm gonna put my heart into it. And hopefully you'll be seeing Raffi and I on a screen together singing either Baby Beluga or Dogs Go Bark, which is one of my Gouda Wooda songs. We'll see. All right, John, congratulations. It's a pleasure coming on with you every week. So grateful to our listeners, to our patrons. We are on Patreon, and we would love your support. But we will take your support in whatever form that is, which includes listening to it. My thank yous to you for listening and making us what we are. So really appreciate you, loggers.
It's the Lack of Genius podcast in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast.
I'm a camp director, gosh dang it.